Baby Beard Media. Let's see if, like, every new season we try and do the Futurama theme song again differently.
Oh, God.
And just, like, the first take we do, that's the one we go with.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so this moment right here, we do it, and that's it for the rest of the season.
All right. Down, 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 Yeah?
That'll do.
Yeah, that'll do.
What a mess.
What a hot mess. Welcome to Shut Up and Take My Podcast. Yep. 2 minutes of prep and that worked.
That was not bad.
But good. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Shut Up and Take My Podcast, the Futurama podcast where we look at every single episode from the beginning to the end until it ends. I am Sean.
And I'm James.
And I'm Chris.
We are on season 2, brand new season.
Hey.
Same cast of characters in this podcast. Nothing really changes. Same
Nope.
room.
Same
Same hot room.
Same bat time, same bat channel, all the rest of it. Season 2, episode 1, I second that emotion. Do we know what that's a reference to?
Something law related.
I think it's a song.
Is it?
I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. I don't
Okay.
know what, though. The director, we got a new director, Mark Irvin, who doesn't really do anything past season 4, so he's in the initial run of Futurama. He never comes back once they hit Comedy Central.
Okay.
So this is
okay.
we had that, that initial group of directors and writers that were in season 1, starting to branch out a bit.
Yep.
Writer, we have Patrick Verone, who's back from Fistful of Dollars, and also wrote for a lot of Futurama comics as well, because the comics are still going.
Oh, really?
As far as I'm aware. Like, they are still...
I would imagine so.
So that's going past. So he does a lot of work for that. Air date, November 21st, 1999. Introducing not many people that come back. We do have our first... Well, actually, before I go on to this, who wants to run down the plot?
Sure, it's Nibbler's birthday.
Hey.
Hooray! Bender is a jerk to Nibbler because he's a robot and doesn't really feel emotions or empathy. He doesn't really experience empathy very well. The professor installs a empathy chip into Bender after Bender flushes Nibbler down the toilet. After being frustrated because of his empathy chip and feeling all of Leela's emotions, Bender flushes himself down the toilet to find Nibbler, and the gang chase after him. Basically the episode, really.
Yeah. Super important episode in terms of a major plotline that's going to be down the line, which is the introduction of the mutants.
Yes.
And more importantly, the introduction of, spoiler, clearly, Leela's parents.
Yes.
Because we do see Leela's parents. This is another super dose of foreshadowing that comes out, because there's that shot where you see them in the background when they're gathering around to sing the song of El Chupanibre.
That's right.
El Chupanibre.
And they're in the back. So already, there's 2 bits of foreshadowing, because there's the introduction of the parents for Leela and the Harlem Globetrotters theme whistled by Bender, which comes, like, his love of the Harlem Globetrotters will come back and time keeps on slipping and all the rest. So, what do we think?
It's a fun episode. I mean, like, I like the use of basically, is it second child syndrome? Is that the thing where, like, basically...
Oh, middle child syndrome.
Yeah, where it's like, there's a new kid in the family, and the first child is basically just like, why aren't you giving me attention,
second child.
basically.
Second child. Yeah,
I never had that. I was the youngest.
I was the oldest, so I know exactly what that's
Yeah, you need that attention, and Bender feels that in a very childish way.
I got that attention.
like. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in that, especially in the opening when they're going to the vet. A lot of funny stuff in that.
Jeffrey Grant, his name is.
Is that
The character?
The character?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Grant.
Who voice actors that?
I do not know. I'm not entirely sure, but the name came...
Sounds like Billy to me.
Could be Billy.
I think it's Billy.
The amount of times Billy talks to himself is just not really surprising anymore. Just assume he does 3/4 of the cast anyway.
I just like the idea of Bender being more with Leela's emotions than Fry's. I'm just
Sure.
switching that up.
Sure.
I mean, I think they could have taken it a little further. I mean, like, just to have a rather than just having here feel emotion. It could have been actual being on her side.
Yeah.
Using the emotion chip to actually be on her side rather than just I'm going to cry now. I'm going to be angry now.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, it's an okay episode for me. It's not a personal favorite, and it's certainly not one that I get like a whole lot of fun out of. But it's an okay episode. I don't know. There's something about it that feels a bit off. It feels like time is a bit.
Can I give an
Sure,
example as to what that might be?
Sure.
It happens a lot more in the first half, but there's a bit of an issue with pace.
Yes.
And in particular, between lines in the dialogue. You'll find that it's just subtly slow, and it kind of affects the way it works scene to scene. I found this a lot when they're talking in the round table, and there's just, it's very strange how the timing is just slightly off kilter. And when you go back and watch it, you kind of notice it a bit more.
I think I agree quite a lot. I think for some characters that actually works very well.
Yes.
For the timing, so the dialogue as written seems to have the same sort of pace and timing, like as written seems to have the same pace and timing for all the characters. Doesn't matter how you're going to perform it. Like, so the voice actors can do whatever they want with it. The way it's written has a natural kind of beat and rhythm to it. This works really favorably for Farnsworth, Fry, and Zoidberg, because in this episode they probably have the standout lines. Yeah. They've got probably the best comedy. So for them, it kind of works. It's this off-kilter kind of like split-second delay. You'd have to be some sort of genius to work out how old he is. He's 5. That kind of off-kilter.
Well, that's where the editing works really well, because, for example, that they linger on Fry and the dentist's face just long enough for you to really kind of maximize the comedic effect of that. But, and this is kind of going on to your point, when they're deliberately being aware of how they're cutting between characters with the camera.
Well, with the shot.
With the shot, it works because you're fully in control of the pace and the timing of it. Where I found it most notable is when they just had a wide shot with all of them, in particular the characters around the table, and there was still just a weird timing issue, and there was just a tiny bit awkward, and it was only just ever so slightly.
I think it's due to the characters. I think Hermes is fine in this episode as well. Like, to me, it feels like Bender and Leela and Amy, to a degree, don't seem to have the same sort of snappiness that their characters regularly have. The characters' voices seem slightly off, and I mean that in kind of in what language they're choosing to use. Bender's language is a little bit too sophisticated. Leela's is a little bit too dumbed down.
I'd argue some of the other characters are still a bit off comparatively to where they are in the previous season. It just, to me, it was more of a directorial problem rather than anything else. Like, I'm not in no way, because you can't really blame the voice actors because they're not doing it in the booth with each other.
No,
so
I don't. I wouldn't.
It was the
way
it was directed and edited just seemed a bit. And look, I can also bring this down to the fact that we've got a new director. We've got Mark Irvin, who hasn't directed an episode before.
Sure.
It just felt like it wasn't completely in touch with the same pace and structure as the previous episodes would have.
Right. Yeah, there were some weird moments in it. So Fry lighting a match in the sewers and then burning himself, and then it cutting, just like him screaming and being like, "Ow!" and then it's a hard cut.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I think in a Futurama episode we would have experienced a moment where Fry lights that match, burns himself, goes, "Ow, I burnt myself." It goes out. He lights another match, screams, "Ow!" It goes out. What? I burnt myself again. Lights it again. I burnt myself again. You know, like that's the sort of Fry humor, and you see Leela getting more and more frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, that's Fry's sort of humor, but a one-off gag where he just does that doesn't seem right.
That was the thing. They had a lot of one-off gags that usually you can get away with some one-off gags if we've already established it in previous episodes. Certain tropes, like Amy falling over, for example. They are one-off gags that are never referenced or acknowledged.
They're in keeping with the character.
Yeah, and they're not acknowledged. They just happen, and it makes sense, and they're tropes within the characters. Whereas the one with Fry is just, that just seemed like a gag for the sake of a gag.
And I'm surprised they didn't do like lights the match, burns himself, lights it again, and he's like, mutants.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my.
That would lead directly into what happens there.
Exactly. I found Hermes was fine-ish, but again, his language felt like it could. Everything he said could have been delivered by anyone else. Like, he's holding a spoon. He's got a hat. Like, nah, give that to someone else.
I did appreciate the hat line though. I did.
It's funny.
The way it was delivered. I did enjoy that.
Just goes to that's the quality of the voice actors being able to perform a line like that and make it funny.
Every line that Zoidberg says is hilarious.
Really
He's
funny in this episode.
Utilized to the fullest capacity. He's so talented.
It's like, can someone come kiss my ass?
All right, I'm coming.
Yeah.
He has maybe 4 lines in the whole episode.
Yeah, about that.
So good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Also, just as far as world building is concerned, that we've harped on about earlier in earlier podcasts, how they get around Happy Birthday.
Yes, I was watching. I'm like, this was like Happy Birthday was licensed until a few years ago.
I believe
It's
only recently that it went into the public domain, but I just thought they're like, no, we're not gonna not have it. We'll just make our own song.
Hey, it's like it's future. So don't they sing a different Christmas song as well? Like,
Well, they call it Christmas Xmas.
Xmas, and there's a new song that incorporates the fact that they have to hide because Santa's coming to kill them.
Yes. I quite like that they managed to get around the censors for Happy Birthday. That's really good of them. Like by inventing a new song, it's creativity due to complexity. It's good stuff.
What do we think of the mutants, actually, once they get to the mutants and then once they get to the mutant city? I'll tell you another problem that I had. Whether this is deliberate or not, if it's deliberate, it didn't work for me, is that the character of Violet, she's the female. Every time she said something that was clearly a joke, like, what are those? Oh, they're crocodiles instead of alligators.
Yeah.
Like, she does that snort to like emphasize the joke, like the budumts.
Yeah.
And I cringed every time. And whether it's deliberate or not, I just went, that doesn't gel for me. Like the idea of showing your hand when you're making the joke, like they're smarter than that.
Yeah. I totally see. I hadn't picked it up when I saw it the first time.
Because she did it several times.
Yeah. I'm just noticing.
Like she goes, "Oh, they're crocodiles."
Yeah.
Like, it grinded me a bit.
Yeah. I don't mind it because it kind of punches the end of that joke.
But I just feel they don't need to do that, and they've never have needed to do that. It's
they
just
haven't.
Like Dwayne, he's the big forehead mutant.
Yes.
His character's very clear. They make the jokes about the sub-mutants and things like that, and it's just easy and it streamlines along.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that, like, the ending, like, part in the sewers. Like, the King Kong, I don't mind, like, doing a whole King Kong part, but...
Sure.
Like, having Nibbler under threat from an animal that he can clearly eat.
Yeah, and we've seen
him eat bigger.
Yeah.
That's what puts me into all right, he's not in danger at all. He could eat that in like a second. You need to find something else.
Like, I like that they're deconstructing the idea of, like, because, like, we're all expecting Nibbler to be El Chupinero, and like, that's the joke, and then it's like, oh, it's not, oh my god. But it doesn't serve the characters. It doesn't serve Nibbler. I don't think it serves the thrust of the narrative either. I would have liked a kind of King Kong Nibbler fight, and maybe Bender is the one that helps out.
Yeah.
Like that might have been a better thing to have happen, without, Nibbler obviously being strong and maintaining that cute illusion.
Yeah.
One thing they do, which kind of helps your issue from the first episode, is that I remember you were talking about how did Bender pick up his own arms if they were both off his body? Because his arms move on their own accord. So it's just like a little thing. It's like, that's how he did it. They move themselves.
They keep doing it. Yeah, that's all right. And at least we got to see Bender actually cook something.
It's funny that they've been working towards Bender being a bad chef. And he's competent.
He can cook a perfect cake.
And later on, they do double down on him being crap.
He got the decoration right.
It looks good. Is what we know.
Looks great.
And Nibbler eats anything, so
yeah, that is true.
Does love snouts.
It could be full of snouts.
It could be
snout cake.
Favorite moments?
Zoidberg probably saying he's so talented with the spoon. Maybe that one sticks out.
I've got Zoidberg again, but I've got two favorite moments. Zoidberg, but when he's going there, what is it? Oh yeah, when they're talking about the mutants, he goes, "They're hideous."
Yeah, that's very good.
That's a good one.
And once again, like Fry's reaction face, because when she says, "Oh, somebody likes snout." Is it me?
I actually thought that actually might be it there. That's my favourite moment. Is it me? And just Leela's response as well, which is just nothing. Yeah. It's just like her just looking at him like he's a complete idiot. You'd have to be a genius to count those rings. He's 5.
Just everything,
and then lingering on that shot.
Yeah, and lingering on that shot. Yeah,
everything at the vets, like the doctor, like the dog doctor, the veterinarian.
The vet,
the dog doctor.
I was like, what's the word for that?
Sure,
when he looks at Nibbler and just hits him on the head. Yeah. And he's like, it's like, I'll go get the tooth. And he's just like struggling for his life. He's like, the Jaguar, I really do want to give that up.
In fact, isn't it a vet dentist?
Vet dentist. Yeah. And he's like, I'm still a little dizzy from a gazelle kick this morning.
Yeah, that's right. Rover gets the suppository.
Rover gets the pill and whoever the other one gets
the suppository. Yeah. That was, that whole scene was pretty funny. I don't know. There's something off about, don't mean to rain on the parade of this episode, but there's something off about it. And I'm not quite sure. I think it's the narrative. I think it's the story. and I don't know why. I don't feel it's streamlined enough.
I would probably I'll just go back to my point I made earlier with feeling emotions. The raw emotion itself isn't the same as like understanding where Leela's coming from. You know, it's kind of just like, she's sad now, I will cry. I wanted Bender to actually like have empathy with Leela and understand, you know, and side with her, and maybe Fry be Leela in this episode.
You know what this is? I think it's another case of what kind of the conclusions that we come to when we see episodes that we don't particularly gel with, and that they've actually got two stories that are strong enough to be told on them by themselves, which is the whole catalyst for this episode to begin with, is what if Bender had feelings?
Yeah.
What if this robot could feel feelings? We make that a Bender-Leela story. That is strong enough to be held on its own, and you don't need to go down to the sewers. Whereas the introduction of the mutants and the sewers is a huge plot point in itself. You could spend an entire episode on, which they do later on.
It's a good point, actually, Sean. That's a really good point.
Those are two super strong ideas.
Yeah.
And we're in the start of a season, the mutant problem, so to speak, or even that world entirely, gets explored so vividly and so richly later on.
Yeah.
That could have been removed to be shown later in the season, and just focus on Bender and Leela, and the idea of robots and emotions.
Yep, I agree. I wonder, like, tonally, you look at the cold open of the episode, and then what dominates the first 5-10 minutes of the first episode is like this idea of food as well. It's like the human rinds, and then we go to porks and snouts, and then we go to the cake. There's a lot of stuff about food, and then we quickly abandon that entirely. And that's a weird kind of like I know it seems like a strange thing to be talking about, but when you're a director of a show, you don't go, oh, what ad should we have? Let's have something about food. You don't just pick that for random. Yeah. You don't open the episode with a shot of snouts and what is it?
Kibbles and snouts.
Kibbles and snouts. And then you don't have Bender's response to that being a cake. Like, there's a consistent theme. Yeah. You as a director are aware of that, and because you want to lead your audience best you can, you're aware of that and you're making that conscious decision. Then it's abandoned entirely. Like, there's no kind of like, unless you want to get into the whole, like, the second half of the episode is about poop, and like, I don't know, the idea that the first half of the episode is about food and the second half is about poop. Maybe that's a thing.
Maybe. Food turns to poo. Food turns to poo.
I don't know. Like, it seems like there is a style thing that just goes out of the way, a theme that just gets dropped.
Just inconsistency.
Midway. It's just knowing what they're capable of as in terms of the way they structure their episodes. Like, we know from past episodes they can be super particular in what they set up. Like the idea with My Three Sons, which is he has too much salt, he drinks, he needs a drink, he goes, finds the glass bottle, he drinks it. That's a catalyst for the episode.
Which is great.
We see how that progresses, whereas this, it's just there's a cut right down the middle.
Yeah, there really is, isn't there?
And I like the cold opens being completely separate from the episode. But then if you also separate the episode into two, there's too many different moving parts. Yeah. Like if you had cold open being about nothing, and then the rest of the episode is this streamlined, consistent story, I'm happy with that.
Sure, absolutely. It feels I think it is 2 episodes. I think someone on maybe one of the head writers was like, hey, we need to get the mutants introduced.
Yeah,
well, they wanted to set that up quite
in a subtle way.
Yeah,
we can't have it overt. We can't have them be obvious, and like have it be like, we can't tie it to Leela too early. We have to do it in a quick, subtle way.
It's enjoyable. It is. It's just.
Yeah.
It's.
You can see mistakes.
Yeah.
There's like inconsistency. Bender is the one to teach Leela to be basically selfish when Bender should be at that time feeling exactly like Leela should.
Yeah.
Like how is Bender possible? Like how can he with that chip possibly be the one?
The logical inconsistencies. Yeah.
Like Fry should be that one to have that power because he's the only one that can think like himself.
Yeah.
And be selfish. Bender doesn't have that power at the time. Yet he's the one doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a moot point, but how does this stack up against When Aliens Attack?
Yeah. When Aliens Attack wins.
Yeah.
And it's not, and again, like to reiterate the point, it's not that this is a bad episode. It's not. It's just not a great episode.
Yeah.
It has flaws. It's a flawed episode, and there's nothing wrong with that except for the flaws.
It's just one of those, they put 2 stories in one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just one of those episodes that's too much.
Every single time they do it, it loses.
I will say this, the animation style of a sewers. I was watching when Leela's under the spotlight, and Bender's in the light with her.
Yes.
The way they're balancing shadow and light, and the more they move in and out, the shadows that get cast on the face, it's really meticulous work.
Like, the animation style, you can see it gets way better.
They had about double the cell count that they'll usually have on episodes previous to them. Like this is double, triple the work that they've been working on. Just where they have to deal with shadows and lighting and multiple mutants and everything. Yeah, I don't envy them.
That's crazy. They were doing like animation work The Simpsons wouldn't see for a long time.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah,
until they do things like Treehouse of Horror as well. Is that Futurama has the ability to expand beyond and do these outlandish, really complicated set pieces as well.
Yes. Yeah. So we have a voice to do.
Do you want a crocodile lady?
Oh God.
I know you hate the voice, but do you want to do that?
Oh, that's gonna break my voice.
It's not alligators. It's crocodiles.
I can do that. I can do the snort.
Who are the main we could do Nibbler.
So okay, let's say for the voice we're doing Nibbler. Do we do both Nibblers?
So him eating and...
Well, I was going to say there's non-speaking and speaking Nibbler.
No, I say we do non-speaking Nibbler and the idea of him eating.
Oh God, okay. Damn. Okay.
Right, and then when Nibbler comes in, then we do Nibbler speaking.
It's like a narrative as well.
Yeah. All right, that was Sean doing Nibbler.
Yep.
James.
Okay.
This will be fun to listen to.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Should have given a pre-warning. Turn the volume down a bit.
That's hard on the chest.
My voice. I hope my voice teacher doesn't listen to this.
Frank Welker, I do not know how you do it. Hope you guys enjoyed that, because we enjoy doing it.
Yeah. How are we going to do the deep actual Nibbler voice?
We'll find out.
We'll give it a shot.
Oh, no.
Look, guys, if you guys want to let us know that you hate the voices and such or whatever, babybeardmedia@gmail.com.
If you love them, babybeardmedia@gmail.com, or review us on iTunes or our SoundCloud.
Or our Facebook page.
Or our Facebook page.
We got stuff, maybe our Baby Beardstagram.
That might be coming, yeah.
Maybe. Hopefully, by the time this is out,
yeah.
you have it.
And by that point, when Baby Beard Media's Instagram account is out, we'll probably have a whole bunch of other projects. That you'll be able to listen to and maybe even watch. We might have some YouTube videos and...
Visual media.
Yeah. Visual media. You'll see our faces, maybe.
Oh, I don't know about
Probably not for a while. Gotta hide the smug.
Work up to it. If you're still with us, and thank you. If you are still with us, come back next week for Brannigan Begin Again.
Welcome to Season 2 of Futurama.
And bye-bye now.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh, I have been Sean.
Oh, I've been James.
I've been Chris. I thought...
Damn, we're sloppy.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, it's Season 2. We should do something special to begin.
We should.
Like a competition and, sell Futurama DVDs that legally we wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, let's get ourselves in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Season 2. Doing this from the confines of a prison cell.
Yeah.
There are people out there who would go, yeah, I want to be eaten. It's human rinds, so it's the fat.
I still wouldn't eat human.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying it's human rinds, so I'm definitely going to be doing it.
So we're advocating for eating humans?
Absolutely, Sean.
Okay,
that's what to take away from what
If you had to survive in the wilderness, would you eat a person?
Yeah, of course.
It you?
Yeah, would you eat me?
Would I get a meal out of it?
What are you talking about? I got plenty to eat. I got legs, I got arms.
Oh, okay, that's 2 days worth. Yeah.
That's not 2 days worth.
That's a fair bit.
I've got like a week's worth of meat.
I'd go through that in 2 days, man.
Hey, you got to pace yourself. You're in the wilderness.
Okay,
you don't know how long
Sean,
you're going to be there.
you're willingly on board to the point where you're gorging yourself.
I'm all for it. Eyes, I don't know, because I'm
there's protein in eyes.
There's certain textures that I just really don't enjoy, and I can't see
I think
eyes.
eye would be like a weird jelly.
You're eating to survive. I don't think texture really comes into it.
But are we saying that the eyes are if I have a choice between
No, you don't have a choice.
So there's just someone's eyes on the ground.
Eyes or death.
Eyes or death.
Eyes or death.
But it's if it was just I was in the middle of nowhere and it was a travel guide, and just say he broke his spine
because of you.
No, just say he fell down a cliff.
Sure.
And he broke his spine, and there's literally the radio's broken. There is no chance of anyone finding us. What's to say he didn't hit his head on a rock?
I mean, the way you phrased it is the murder way of phrasing that. It's like,
who's to know?
Maybe it has an accident.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
falls,
don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe he falls down an elevator shaft onto some bullets, and they impale them into his body.
So this is James's last time on the podcast.
Like, we should make an Instagram account.
Well, I had an Instagram on mine.
Baby Insta?
A baby Insta?
Baby Insta.
No, we don't have a Babster yet.
Okay, Babster.
Babster.
That'll be our award system.
Yeah.
The Babsters.
The Babsters.
Awarded between one of three people.
We should just give us like each other awards for like most Sean commitment.
Yeah,
Give
Chris.
to James. Emphasize the rhyme structure of their lyrics. So like the rhyming word at the end.
Welcome to Shut Up and Take My Podcast.
Yeah, everyone's going cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cast.
Will be cast because it's American because they're the
Cast.
Beastie Boys.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Do full American. Yeah, go for it.
All right. Cut out like that minute of us figuring it out.
No, I just like your little.
It's like I can't use any of that.
Or just like the preparation of just like, this is going to be a mess, isn't it?
Do we want to do like a draft, like a
practice run?
No, let's just do it.
Okay.
Here we go.
It's gonna suck.